Hello everybody and welcome to another box tail scoop. This is a post-Christmas, what was that?
That was the 2021, that was the future.
Oh
Futuristic.
my. Like a lightning bolt.
Exactly.
I liked it, very good. This is post-Christmas vlog. We promised you last week that we would do a vlog about the set and the kind of process that it went through to get to where it finally was. That was an excellent sentence, well done me. So we're going to show you some drawings from the very initial idea stage and then obviously photographs of the proper set as it was when we were in the theatre. So I think you were going to talk first about initial ideas that we had.
Yeah, so although we're going to talk about A Christmas Carol, because we, having finished, we sort of looked back at the drawings and were... It's fun, it's interesting to look back at everything and see where the designs began and see where you actually ended up. And there are always a couple of things maybe that you've forgotten or a couple of little ideas. Oh yeah, we were going to do that in the beginning. So although we're going to talk about A Christmas Carol, a lot of these principles I think probably apply quite broadly to our way of approaching the design of a show in general. So for A Christmas Carol, for our initial ideas, there were a couple of things that we really kept coming back to, weren't there? I was obsessed with a door. I had this idea of a door. I really wanted a big kind of, almost, you know, not a normal sized door, at least a double door, kind of slightly monolithic. And when did we have the idea of it being not right angled, not a normal shaped door?
I think that was a little bit later.
So that was one of the things that I kept going back to, was I like this idea of having a big, heavy, like solid door at the back. And then you had the obsession with money boxes.
Yes, I did. I had an obsession with money boxes. And this sort of idea of things being, of Scrooge's life and his sort of mental state almost being represented by his hoarding nature and the money boxes and sort of shutting everything away and locking everything away. And that he's realising that he's missing out on things and he is being redeemed in some way or whatever, that things start to open up, things are unlocked, maybe, you know, in the same, sort of like a extended metaphor for the memories of his life and then the feelings and warmth in his life being shut away and then being opened up and revealed, and by the end everything is all open and warm. And...
So for Christmas Carol, as you just said, you've got this idea of everything being locked up and these money boxes and this big heavy door and everything being kind of locked in and sealed and very contained. At least that was our initial thought.
Yeah, initial thoughts, definitely. And then these obviously they tend to grow, and we sketch up things. I mean, we've shown you drawings in the past vlogs, I think, of set, but I had quite an early idea of having in fact, it was supposed to be a ledger that then went on top of these posts to become Scrooge's desk, and the posts would then also be lamp posts that we would have, and they would also, for Fezziwig's party, string together some kind of Christmas decoration. And what's nice is you look back at this, and although it wasn't a ledger, it in fact was, well, it sort of was, it was like a money box slash ledger that became Scrooge's desk. We also very much liked this idea of having these lampposts that would become other things and be used in other configurations. So this really did happen, as did this picture. In fact, the lamppost very much got used for Fezziwig's party, and instead of using a paper chain, it was bunting. So there is definitely, you can see from early drawings, there are things that then got used. Here I had the idea that one of the money boxes would pull down to be a bookshelf, and we used that as well. We used it. It was a slightly different way of doing it than this, but nonetheless we used that concept.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's always interesting to note the things that you discard.
Yeah.
So you've got here a little, for this schoolroom.
This was for the schoolroom.
Yeah, you've got a little map that folds out of another money box. We've got, I think it was intended to be this same ledger that would turn into sort of chalkboard or well, it would have been a chalkboard. It wouldn't have been a whiteboard.
And as you go on with the process, you realise that that moment in the schoolroom is so swift. Mm-hmm. You don't need everything. You just need one thing.
Yeah, and you sort of realise that this is actually several ideas.
Yes.
And it's enough for that brief moment that you spend in the schoolroom, it's enough to have one of those ideas to put the sense of it across. So we went with the bookshelf, and we kind of decided, well, it's not necessary, therefore, to have all the rest of the stuff. The same thing here. In fact, you can see on top of Scrooge's desk there's another book which is acting as a seat. And again, we decided that wasn't really necessary.
Although we did keep Bob Cratchit's desk folding out from a small money box. That there was supposed to be a bit of a gag, really, that Scrooge had this great grand desk and Bob had just a small thing. So, it's nice to sort of see what we kept and what we discarded. And then obviously, there's various more things. We swapped the pudding for a goose in the Cratchits, but we did have the washing coming out of the thing.
And again, you can see how we went back to using these posts and using these lampposts in various different configurations. This we actually tried. We did, in fact, we used it for the laundry.
Yeah.
And I think that's also an important part of the way we approach the design, is that knowing that whatever we put in there, it can't be a one-off use. It has to be something that fulfills a greater purpose than just being a prop or an object that shows up for one scene and then is never seen again. I think pretty much everything either comes from part of the set, so even if, like the bookshelf, even if it only appears in one scene, the box that it comes from is actually part of the set.
Yes, exactly, and remains there as.
And the lampposts are obviously used throughout.
And then I think it was later on when I think, we were trying to work out how we could kind of do some flats at the back, potentially, that would be a nice visual thing. So we had these sort of money box stacking, and then I think we wanted to get this idea just to make everything less square. I think that was it. Everything seemed quite rectangular and square, and we thought, well, if we had the door as an unusual shape, then it might give some kind of sort of looming perspective, which I think it really did. I mean, it was a nightmare for you to make, but it was definitely worth it, I think. And then here we have the colour palette, which we did definitely stick to. You can see the sort of greens and reds that we used. We actually added in a kind of antique blue as well to the set, and we used a kind of a coke brown, black, rather, to grubby everything up a little bit.
Yeah, when we'd initially painted everything, it was a little too bright, a little too vibrant for the feel that we wanted. So yeah, we then went back and darkened it all a little bit with that.
And these colours are definitely used within the costumes for the Ghost of Christmas Past. So this definitely, did happen. We used the gold very much as the decoration on the boxes to lift them a little bit. They all have lovely gold handles. And then, so we ended up with the drawing that I think we'll put up now.
Yep.
Which was done on an iPad, in fact, so it's slightly different from in here. I ran out of pages. And then also the set model that you'll see now. And you can see on those that we had, in the drawing, we had money boxes hanging from the front two sides of the set. And then in the model, we tried to work out a way of not hanging them, but having them on stands.
Yes.
And we went to the theatre and...
Yeah, which was important because it was slightly unusual for us in two ways. First of all, obviously it's quite a large space and large stage, and we knew that we had to be able to make something that felt appropriate, that filled the stage, but also we knew that we were designing for a specific space, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes we know, that it's going to be performed in a particular theatre, but it might be toured on. But for this one, we knew that, all of the performances that we had planned were in the Everyman, in the main house, and we wanted it to look as good as possible in there. So we very much had that in mind.
And we found out that we couldn't really hang the boxes, didn't we, when we got there?
Yep.
And then when we actually looked at the model, we felt like it made the set sort of shrink by having these things so far forward and higher. That top one was sort of higher than the door and the sign. So we then came up with the other idea, which is what we ended up with, which was having some more of the similar kind of flat that we got at the back, where it's a mixture of money box stack and window to draw the audience's eye into the set.
Yeah, and you drew this very lovely shape that sort of did pull you in.
And that worked very nicely. And then the boxes, obviously, that were on those front flats, then became the other things. They were the three-dimensional ones mostly that then got lifted off to be other things and whatever. So that's how we ended up with that final bit. And in fact, it was interesting because it went back to a very early drawing that I did, where I was sort of doing part windows, part walls, part things. So it's funny how those old ideas then come back to help when you need to solve a problem. And I was really, I don't know about you, but I was really pleased with that final, the way that it did take the audience design in.
I think it looks
and filled the space
fantastic.
really beautifully.
Yeah, it really does. And then there were a few other bits and pieces that we stuck to and developed. I think we were keen that we thought it would be nice to have some kind of light in the set as well. So that came along. I'm not sure at what point that came along, but
you can see it in very early drawing there, in fact.
Because in the lamppost and stuff.
Yeah, and in the money boxes that I thought maybe could be windows, which we did also do.
Yeah. So we kept a few of those ideas and we developed them a little and carried them forwards. Those lamps were used throughout the show. We did have a couple of money boxes with windows. What was the other one I was going to mention? Oh, the snow on the windows itself.
Oh yeah, which really helped.
Which was interesting because that came a little bit later.
Yeah, it was your idea.
Having drawn all of the set and all of these shapes and all of these money boxes and things, we were then talking about silhouettes, and we were talking about the possibility of, we had all kinds of odd ideas. We were talking at one point about whether we could get the shape of a city, like
that was way
the
back.
shape of London.
Way back when.
But one of the things that came out of that was the idea that we could use a little bit of snow to lift it slightly and to highlight the shapes.
And to give it that Christmassy feel.
Yeah, and to give it a Christmassy
feel. You're going to do a
feel,
Christmas show and a very iconic Christmas story. You want it to feel wintry and Christmassy, so I think it really helped in that way as well.
So we ended up with the snow on the windows, which does help to brighten it up and just lift it a little bit.
And I think then the things transforming to other things is sort of epitomised in this set by the door.
Sure, yeah. So the door, I think from fairly early on as well, I think I've got a little drawing right from the beginning where I was suggesting all of the things this door could be. And again, that's really because if you're going to have something so imposing and something that kind of is kind of central to the set, then it can't just sit there. It has to kind of pull its weight and play a part. So we had various ideas for the things that the door could be, and in fact I think we pulled most of them off. So we, as well as being a door, obviously, we also thought it could be the fireplace for Scrooge's house, that maybe we could build a window into it so that Scrooge could kind of peer out of his house at the end. I was really keen for it to be the grave, because it was this big monolithic shape, and I liked the idea that same thing that was locking him in, the door to the office, the thing that he was keeping closed, was also the thing that kind of threatened him and represented his demise.
And then there's one final kind of transformation, which you'll have to see the show to know what that is. And hopefully we'll be doing it again this year. I hope this Christmas maybe we'll get to do it again. Who knows? But I think we've probably rambled on for far longer than we should have. So we're going to stop now. And apologies for being long. We're going to chapter it again, obviously. So if you've got this far, obviously well done. But you will be able to skip the beginning bit if you wanted to get onto the more detail for this show. Yeah. But thank you very much, for watching again. And please do, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, leave a comment. That is all very helpful for us to help get more views. Yeah.
And if there's something in particular that interests you, that you'd like to know more about, or you have any questions about a particular part of the set or any of the design, then of course we're more than happy to answer them. Leave us a comment or send us a message and we'll do our best to answer.
Thank you very much.